Hello everyone and welcome to this week's episode of Revelation, and I'm delighted to have on this week's call Rosanna Kalliabetsos, who is a women's empowerment coach and yoga teacher, and Peckham, who is a lifestyle coach, Jason Chan, who is a Tai Chi master, and Claire Gillman, editor of Kindred Spirit magazine. We're going to start by coming to you, Rozy. You want to talk about hormones and superwomen.
And superwomen, yeah, totally. So hello, everybody. My work obviously works a lot with women, and we know that we are massively influenced by our hormones, and particularly having worked a lot with fertility and also with cancer, because I have a lot of people around me being affected by it. What has really dawned on me is how much disrupting our hormones is causing an issue, not just with our health, but our reproductive health. And it's a real problem because right from the moment we hit puberty, we've got the issue of synthetic hormones as contraceptive, support. So whether it's the pill or whether it's having the injection or whether it's having the coil, from as early on as you can imagine, we're starting to play around with our reproductive health, and we're messing up our hormones. And the moment we start messing up our hormones, we start messing up our intuition. The endocrine system and the hormone, the central nervous system are so strongly linked. And this all ties in with fight, flight, freeze. This ties in from moving from a paradigm of living in fear and victim consciousness to stepping up into living in truth, empowerment, love, and seeing through eyes of love. We've got to look at the fact, though, that even in birth, because I do a lot with birth, with fertility, if women are going for IVF, again, you have the issue of synthetic hormones being used to stimulate their cycle. If women are going through labour, they're being forced into induction if they go past their due date, which is like an arbitrary figure. 6% of women actually give birth on that date, and some man created it anyway. And they're given synthetic hormones, again, to get a labour started. Then we're given HRT, which we know is causing problems with cancer. So I wanted to just...
What are the solutions? I mean, obviously you've got all the problems there. I mean, if you were in charge suddenly of health and creating from a blank canvas, creating a new way of being,
what would I do? I'd ban synthetic hormones, full stop. They would be banned because they're in everything that we put on our skin, in our bodies, like all the cosmetic products, they're there. Endocrine disruptive chemicals, are absolutely everywhere. And no one knows this is such an issue. So in fragrance, anything you put on your body, the things that we put on to make us look and smell nice are pure toxins. And this all ties in. So whether it's to do with, our reproductive health or whether it's to do with cosmetics, we are constantly being exposed. Even in the environment, we are constantly being exposed to endocrine disruptive chemicals.
Okay, we'll come back to you, Rozy. Let's come to Anne, because I know actually that precisely fits with what you wanted to talk about on today's call, and everyone brings their own topics. So, Anne, what's your position on the whole toxins in toiletries issue?
Well, my whole point of this is that the vast majority of women do not ever read labels. And unfortunately, when they do look at labels, almost every single product out there has the ingredients in Latin or some other language that is impossible to understand. However, when you look deeply into what are in skincare, makeup, body care, and so on, you will start to realize that there are many, many, many issues with what is actually going onto your skin. Now, if you think about it, people who want to try and give up smoking, certainly in the past, they used to put on nicotine patches. And the reason that nicotine patches worked is because anything put onto the skin will be absorbed through the skin and into the bloodstream. one of the most alarming issues that has actually come to light in recent years, and that is in the umbilical cord of newborns. They have taken the cords and they've done analysis on them to actually discover, and they've discovered that they are full of toxins, absolutely full of toxins that are going through the barrier between their mother and straight into the babies. So the babies are actually being born with toxins throughout the whole of their system. And I want to alert women to this so that they no longer poison their children without realizing.
I just to raise a point on that, and just to sort of be a bit provocative here, because this was a subject discussed. I'm part of a feng shui program, and the subject there was all about electromagnetic stress and the amount of toxin in electromagnetic signals and mobile phone masks and Wi-Fi, and so the list goes on.
Yes.
Is the solution to actually try to completely clean up our planet and go back to total alignment with nature and the kind of golden ratio? Or is the solution that the next stage of human evolution is that we are able to transmute toxins and transcend this kind of duality? This is a very, very interesting point, because there's another big toxin which no one talks about, and that is negative thought projected at people. So what is more toxic, someone eating a McDonald's burger, or the person viewing them thinking you're a bad person for eating that burger? It's that kind of thing, because water takes on energetic impressions from the viewer. So if I look at someone and I see a radiant being of healthy love, and I look at someone through the eyes of love, I'm affecting them at a cellular level exactly in the same way that if I look at them with the eyes of kind of judgment, I'm actually affecting them at an energetic level. This is the Emoto work. So this is a really interesting point of where does this take us? Because obviously this program is about kind of exploring these themes in the context of human evolution and the next stage of our existence. So just back to you on that, Anne.
Yes, of course. I mean, I concur with you completely about negative thoughts and negative energy, because one of the most damaging things that people do to each other is the way in which they think about each other. And if you can come from a place of unconditional love, and I mean genuinely unconditional, knowing that we are all trying to do our best, regardless of who we are and what we're doing, then we can actually start to transform the ways in which we interact with each other. We can come from a place where we encourage people, where we find the positive in them, where we allow each other to, in other words, if we see the best in each other, then we have, sorry, go on.
Does unconditional love extend to toxins? I mean, if everything is of source, can we love it all? Can we also love toxins? Can we love hormone? Can we love HRT? This is a really interesting point, isn't it? If it is about unconditional love, can we truly love it all without judgment?
I think that if we are talking about toxins, we don't actually have to hate them, but we do have to be aware that introducing them into our bodies is not going to do us any good in the long run. I mean, for example, I personally, and in fact, I doubt that there would be anybody on this planet that would disagree with me, that taking strychnine or arsenic or something like that would be damaging to our health. Therefore, we actively choose not to drink strychnine. We choose not to drink arsenic. However, we do not have the option of choosing what we put on our skin, or rather we do have the option of choosing what we put on our skin, but we haven't been given the knowledge to understand that the ingredients within some of these products can be as damaging as strychnine.
Okay. Okay. Jason, I'm going to come to you because I know this is actually, to me, it's a very aligned topic you want to talk about, which is about conflict and peace versus war, conflict on the planet, and actually a very essential root of that is judgment.
We have to understand something. On one hand, we have unconditional love, and seemingly for a lot of people is a very high ideal. But I actually been searching about this subject and trying to understand about human conflicts and how we can actually solve the problem. And I realized that is my personal view, but you can actually observing it. The world as it is outer pictures of the inner condition. So as we look at observing through meditation or mindfulness training, you will notice all our mindset in certain level are quite negative. And that means there's always some conflicts. And we talk about toxins and pollution. I actually found the source primarily come from our collective mind. So what happened then, if we actually tried our best, first to learn about mindfulness, and then later about observer and watcher, and able the observer and watcher aspect within our consciousness can look inside our mind. Thus, we can change our mind program. Now, this have to be constantly doing it. You cannot just one day, I love unconditionally, and next minute I freak out. So that's the reason why there's a training in it. And I notice in my life and observing the other people's life, planet Earth existence is a constantly adjust itself. That means we are evolving. And that is very much like a classroom and training ground. If it is the case, I would like myself to become a happy practitioner. So that means I participate in this training ground and classroom with understanding, happiness, and so forth. And observing about energy, when you talk about energy, we separate into two aspects, pure and impure. So impurity, everybody can cope with it for a while, but when it is too much, so we can't. So, however, if you tune in, just like the Chinese talk about the qi, or Indian yoga talk about the prana, is a higher vibrational state. And then I told my student, as soon as you hold the prana or the qi, your mind have to be quiet. So this is a high vibrational state. And when your mind is quiet, you are the watcher, or you can call it master, you can change your mind. So when you change your mind, as you already point out, so the cellular structure within our body and even an environment start to change, just vibration shift, just like here and now. And suddenly you become more healthier just by stilling your mind, not shutting your mind off, but you have to learn to raise your vibration. While you're in this state, peace is assured, because it is a state of natural aliveness. So we don't have to struggle or getting stressed or about something. Or here it's got no energy. Here is too stressful. And however, when you got more vibration or life forces support you, automatically you feel more at peace. When you then more at peace, it's much easier to open the heart center here. The heart center. So we already know now, scientifically proven, the heart got its own intelligence. So thus we can tune in. When we can tune in, that means have the awareness to tune in at our heart center, so we feel pain, loneliness. We're not complete yet, and some people experience yearning for freedom and love, and some people have great compassion oozing out from there, and then we can talk about unconditional love. I think we are on the process to doing it.
So Jason, coming back to the topic of for example, toxins in toiletries, do you, if you were in charge of the world, do you just allow that, or do you stop it? Do you ban it? How? Or do you not?
We have to come back into the manufacturers, but most people living at a planet of lack, enable I earn more money or become more famous, influential. So I have to kind of deceive the world a little bit. So I don't believe that, because the more you notice you are the part of the race, human race, the more you become whole, that means awakening more, the more you care for the others. So we cannot really look on Tesco or Morrison's to say, look, withdraw all those goods with artificial things, which is damaging your fellow human being. We can't do this. So what we can do is simply, you can look after yourself in a sense of understand human consciousness. Human consciousness is such. If you become very lower vibrational level, we automatically become self-centered. That is not a very good word. Sometimes we use selfishness, but when that is imploding our mind consciousness, looking within and care for ourselves. And when this happening, if I want to make money, it's not based on your benefit. I want to based on my benefit. But as you're more awake, and then you notice you are part of life. Actually, you are life. And you will automatically care for the others. If I'm the manufacturer, I will use all the organic, all the good things, okay, to benefit my fellow human being. So the world will change. I think you cannot lock people off. I think you cannot ask people to lay down their weapon.
Yes.
I think you have to help them to understand they can raise a vibration, open their heart, and then their action and behavior will change.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jason. So Claire, let's come to you, because obviously you're editor of Kindred Spirit magazine, which is all about sharing knowledge and information and helping people to open to higher consciousness. So I know you want to talk a bit about forgiveness on this call, but
I think where we have issues like toxins in cosmetics, the whole wireless pollution problems, which we did a feature on in the last issue, where they're rolling out 5G across the world without any understanding of what the implications for health will be, and for monetary gain, as Jason was pointing out. I think where we have to evolve, if you like, is that we're looking at each of us trying to attain a higher consciousness, working on ourselves personally, which of course we have to all do. But I think if you're going to try and stop these things or bring understanding to what's going on and combat it if you feel very strongly about it, that has to be done rather than in a combative way, again, with love and understanding, rather than taking the opposite position and trying to fight against these things. And that's the only way that we're going to ever get the bigger organisations who are looking at trying to do things for money largely to understand that there is another way. And it's along the lines of Gandhi's peaceful resistance. I think if we're going to lobby these big organisations who put the parabens and the toxins in cosmetics, or roll out 5G without consulting and thinking about the health, as well as working on ourselves individually as groups, when we try and lobby those things, then we have to come from a place of love and understanding rather than a combative place, and try and educate them and try and get them to see that there's a better way.
Fantastic, thank you. And Claire, let's just talk a bit about forgiveness, which is what you wanted to bring to the call.
Yes, I was looking at current affairs. I was reading the Sunday Times yesterday, and there's a very amusing piece in there by Caitlin Moran. And it's about, in her marriage, she had decided that she was going to admit she was in the wrong, which is something that she never does. And I think other people can recognise that in marriages and how hard that is. And largely, part of this was because she wanted to be able to take the moral high ground and say, I'm admitting I am wrong. And then the partner had actually taken actions. It's a long story, but where she then felt that she had to forgive him for acting, having forgiven him, having said she was sorry. He'd taken action that she wasn't expecting, and she then had to forgive him for that. And he had to forgive. It was very, very humorous piece. But it got me thinking on a more serious topic, because some years ago I interviewed a woman called Immaculée Kalliabetsos, who was a Rwandan Holocaust survivor. And I interviewed her for Kindred Spirit. And it made me start to think about, we start on small levels in our relationships. Do we truly forgive? Or do we say we are forgiving when we're not? And when you speak to somebody like her, who had her whole family massacred, she actually then went to meet the perpetrators, who were neighbours, people she'd grown up with. And she had to truly feel forgiveness in order to reconcile and get on with her own life. And I think what made me think about it was, I was laughing at the column, but I think on every level, from the smallest thing to the largest thing, if we say we're experiencing an emotion, but we're only paying lip service to it, which is often what happens with forgiveness, it doesn't truly work for us.
So Claire, again, just to be a bit provocative here, because forgiveness is, in our kind of Western world, is kind of based on judgment of like, you've done something wrong, but I'm going to forgive you. But then if you look at the whole Ho'oponopono, that's really about taking absolute responsibility for everything we manifest, and asking the world for forgiveness for the part that we've played in manifesting the difficult husband, or the challenging boss, or whatever. That they are all gifts on our journey to teach us the very things that we need to transmute within ourselves. And that's a very different way of looking at life, isn't it? Where we take total responsibility for the world that we're manifesting, a bit like Jason was saying about, we are it. It's not like out there. We this is our manifestation.
Yes, and we also have to take responsibility. If we have created what we're experiencing, we also have to take responsibility to how we react to it. So if we've created this for a lesson, if we've created the difficult husband for a lesson, you can take all those on board. But if you are actually reacting by saying, if your reaction is that I want to forgive and I want to move on and I understand, then you have to truly believe that and feel it.
Yeah.
There's no good actually taking responsibility and not meaning it.
Yeah.
And it has to be on every level. It can't be just an emotion that you talk about. It has to be something you feel.
Because at a metaphysical level, if just to bring this back into the subject of toxins, if at a metaphysical level, collectively, we have manifested this world collectively as humanity, this issue of toxins, which runs through everything from the air we breathe through to polluting the waters of the Pacific and nuclear waste, and the list goes on and it's endless. How have we created such a toxic world? And this is the kind of bigger issue, isn't it? Of how have we got so far out of alignment with nature? Let's come back to you on that, Rosie. I'm kind of doing a rotation here. This is
I would say
this discussion on the spring equinox, which is obviously the kind of the first day of the kind of the Pachamama springing to life symbolically. So this is a really interesting time to be having this discussion.
Totally agree. And I would say the first response to that is ignorance. To tie this whole conversation together, we've got to this place through ignorance, through not being aware of how we impact not just ourselves, but other people and the planet. And this is part of us evolving as souls, to be aware of not just our carbon footprint, but our whole being blueprint and how a footprint and how it affects.
Is it a head thing? Is it a knowledge thing? Or is it a heart thing in terms of consciousness? Because there's two different things there, isn't there? Do we know it? Because, like, for example, I mean, I know all this stuff, but quite often I will, eat something with sugar in, you know, and I know that it's kind of, it will lower my vibration, but it's kind of the consciousness of like, why do I want, why am I craving that? And what is my real need?
So that's your human body and your soul. You know, every soul has a human, and I think of it a bit like a host, you know, like this is the host body for this soul, you know, this physical body, Rosanna, well, the name as well, hosts the soul that I am. And often the soul and the physical human can be in conflict because the human's built up patterns through the brain, which is just a computer, and anything we repeat, we create neural pathways for. So, you know, going back to this collective smog that we have co-created in our ignorance of how these repetitions that, you know, we call them, in yoga, you'll call them samskaras. Anything you do a lot, you create a groove for, a pattern for, whether it's positive or negative, right? And, you know, going back, just thinking about what we were saying before, and this awareness of seeing, first of all, what we've created. This is the situation. We've got an overload of toxins on this planet, which we have partly created through choice and putting money before people and human health and the planet and everything else, but also partly through ignorance, through not realizing the impact of how all of these different separate things put together create a bigger problem. So in order to find a solution, there's a need to forgive ourselves. You know, tying in forgiveness, I'll say forgiveness really comes with how we come to deal with the conflict within our own psyche. You know, the hardest person for me to forgive is myself because of the shame and the actions and everything else that I'll constantly watch and see. But if I can maintain that higher vibration of being able to observe myself and go, oh, you've done that one again, never mind, what's going on? Okay, love and acceptance. Even if no one else forgives you for this, you have to forgive yourself, because that's how you will step up and be able to hold that space for others. So again, collective smog soup that we're talking about, whether it's EMF, hormones, whatever you want to call it. The problem is here. We created it, partly in ignorance, partly through choices. Now we need to look at what we do. And when we're talking about consciousness and evolving beyond these poisons actually poisoning us, you have to reduce the toxic load first. Then we've got a chance to really step from carbon-based to crystalline-based cellular structure and become invincible and become impenetrable. So if you think of gamma waves as a perfect example, we're getting huge gamma wave blasts on this planet at the moment, right? Solar flares. Now, for someone who's still in their carbon-based structure, that's really poisonous and toxic. But for someone who's been evolving their energy and raising their vibration, and when they've learned about things like, oh, makeup has loads of toxins in, oh, these foods mess with your hormones, and start to avoid things where possible. What you just said about, I still eat sugar, yeah, okay, well, that's a little beyond your control today, but this bit isn't. So focus on the bits you can do easily. Keep praising that, keep building that. Then you're like, wow, I'm doing great. Critical mass has shifted. We're now focusing on what we're doing great. And what you focus on, the universe says yes, right? So there you've got the shift again. And there you've got, forgive them, they know not what they do. All right, Big Pharma. All right, IVF. Listen, guys, this isn't really helping because people are going to you for health reasons and then they're getting sick as a result of it. We've got to find another way. What can we co-create together? So we're taking blame out again. We're constantly giving the opportunity for the energies that up until now have governed things to have an opportunity to have a new role, you know, to have what I would call a promotion. Yeah? And to shift what their job is. Does that all make sense? Because I've kind of gone round a bit.
It's I was at an event the other day and there was a nutritionist there and she was talking about gluten, about how bad gluten is, and bread, and then gluten and bad gluten. I mean, just like gluten. And I'm just like, why not just talk about quinoa? Or, you know, why not talk about the deliciousness of the alternative as opposed to fighting the thing that we don't want? And this is a really interesting thing you said about where are we putting our energy? Is it into fighting the thing we don't want, or is it into creating and energizing the thing we do want? And talk about how amazing it is to drink a green juice in the morning, and as opposed to getting kind of fighting caffeine or sugar, for example.
Yeah, so it's a little shift in our own perception, but we do still need to be able to say, look, this doesn't actually do you good in the long term. If you know, we were talking about it before, if you build up, if you have too many toxins, you're going to get sick, right? And then you're not going to be able to fight the environmental pollutants. And when I say fight, I mean transmute, okay? So you think of a peacock. A peacock apparently can take a snake venom and metabolizes that snake venom to create the beautiful colors that create the, you know, all of the plume and the tail and so forth. But in order to do that, we need to be in a relatively good state. Gluten is poisonous to you, as an example, if you've had so much of it and your body can't tolerate it. So you need to clear it out of your system for a while, and then you can start to tolerate it again. So in the way that we inform the public, I think we have to be able to state there is an issue, there is a problem here, but look at how many solutions there are. Look at how we can transform this, and look what you could do instead, and make that exciting.
Anne, let's come back to you.
Oh yes, I totally agree with Roz. I mean, it's amazing. What's really, really important is that we do not condemn the behavior of others. Instead, if we can come alongside other people and say, have you ever thought about this? I mean, look at this. This is something which is something a little bit different to the way you're doing it. Would you like to see if it suits you? There are so many people who have not the faintest idea of the ways in which they are damaging themselves, because they don't have, as Jason was saying, their level of awareness is so much lower than this point here. They have no idea. I mean, I'm quite certain that the vast majority of the people that come onto these calls would not automatically live on high levels of caffeine and donuts. But there are many people out there who do. Now, I don't think that I personally can actually reach every single human being on this planet that is damaging their health with the food that they eat, the toxins that they put on their skin. All I can do is be who I am. And in being who I am, I will share what I know to be good with myself, with anybody who's interested. 12 years ago, I was not the woman I am today. I have evolved and become a much, much purer, much calmer, lot less toxic being than I was 12 years ago. In 3 weeks' time, just over 3 weeks' time, I will become 60 years old. And I know that 10, 12 years ago, I was a lot older than I am now. And I have done this by the journey that I've been on. I have found who I am, discovered who I am. I love who I am. And I send automatic love.
Just coming back to this thing about this transformational thing about knowledge and consciousness, actually, to me, the experiential experiencing this, to me, is the most powerful thing. And I know, Jason, you do amazing retreats where people literally kind of step out of their existing life. And I know that for me, this has been the most powerful thing, to actually go on a retreat, to only have superfood, do yoga and meditation, and to experience the transformational difference between being in that energy and the food and all of everything that goes around that experience versus kind of normal life. And witnessing, because this is the thing, if it's a bit like, you know, people have got to taste something, trial something, experience the shift in energy, and then they go, oh, I get it now. And then if you eat something like sugar, or you suddenly have a glass of wine after you've been in total purity for a week or something, you can actually feel the crash in your energy. So talk to us a bit about that kind of experiential purity.
Yeah. I've been running a spiritual and holiday retreat for a long time, possibly about 26 years. And then tell you a little bit of funny side of the retreat. So we raised our vibration, ate very pure food. Everybody loved each other. And then we experienced, transformational light and Jesus Christ, Buddha, everybody here. And afterwards, after the retreat, some people have to rush to the fish and chip shop, to order their fish and chips because the energy is too high.
True.
The energy is just too high. I cannot take it. I have to come back down here.
It's very true, actually, that, because when I went to Peru last year and I did a lot of medicine work and ayahuasca, and I was literally, my third eye was so open. And actually, when I got back, it was too overwhelming, like dreaming and daytime, and almost like everything was a medicine journey. And actually, I ended up drinking wine literally to try and close it down, because I couldn't cope with the explosion of
coming back into our human mind and body. So we have some limitation.
Yes.
So that is reason why evolution takes millions of years. So don't worry about the 5G, Wi-Fi, internet, and also all the mobile signals. They are here to stay, okay? So however, evolution has it. We will adapt. How are we going to adapt? So very depends. The physical body and the mind will have to adapt. That is the reason why we survive and we thrive as a human race. But having said that, so when you become stronger in your nervous system, and the energy level, which is go through your meridian, via the meridian, your nervous system, and then, your hormonal system and so forth. So the Chinese map out about, 12 meridian and a lot of different channels and a lot of acupuncture points. So to make it very simple for the audience, and basically, so we are connected already. Whether you like it or not, we are the antenna, we are connected already. So when you understand this, it's much better to strengthen your nervous system and understanding. So evolution takes so long. So now you are consciously evolved. So what we talk about, we raise our vibration until we get in touch with a pure energy we call the light. So when we get in touch with our pure energy, the light, the brain cell will start to change and transform. Nervous system strengthen and purify. And then the body starts to become stronger. We call stronger in the light. So all the vibration or lower vibrational state cannot influence you so much. Even the negative emotion within yourself and the others. That's a very, very important. So coming back into retreat, I met a very wise master. He described the best is 50-50. So that means you go within about 50%. You're going out to do your service and spend time in your daily life about 50%. I tried to adjusting it. Eventually, I reached 50 and 50%. But I'm still engaging in the world because never mind where you are, you still have your phone with you this day. And then the computer or the internet, iPad is still with you. So what happened then, for me, retreat is very important. That means you step away from your daily life and you concentrate on what you love. I love meditation. I love to share love. I love sunshine, and everything. It's not so expensive. Find somewhere which is you like, but then it's time out. So when you time out, you clear your mind so much. So you strengthen, utilize whatever you like. Even you like to play golf, left mind, but we do Tai Chi, yoga, breathing exercise. And also we study spiritual texts like A Course in Miracles and the modern or the Buddhist texts. A lot of classic, beautiful philosophy help us to concentrate on something completely different than our daily life. And then we're creating a space inside our energetic body, which is you already understand. We are stuffed ourselves with things in our mind and our body, so we become heavy. And we're more open. As you open and strengthen and purify, the more light, the more life force coming through, and you become super creative. At this moment, basically, what you really want, you just want to love the world. So that is with after retreat, you just want to save the world. So, and of course, after you save the world for a while, you fed up and then you're going to hide again. But having said that, I try to do meditation on a daily basis to clear my mind, and then I move my energy and then top up with some bright energy. So, and then I dealing with the world, or if I can even help, and if I can't, so support. So life has become beautiful.
Wonderful.
Thank
Claire,
you.
let's just come to you about this idea of sharing knowledge and information, and this kind of the difference between this sort of preaching of like, this is wrong and that this is the right way, da da da, as opposed to this kind of what we kind of call at the source inspiretainment, of just sharing amazing inspirational knowledge and teachings that will help to shift people's energy.
I'm in a very privileged position because through what I do, I'm introduced to some amazing teachers across the world who are doing wonderful stuff on every level, from the smallest, sort of little initiatives, community initiatives, right the way up to the great teachers. But I think what's interesting for me watching this is that in the past, people who were on a pathway of enlightenment, they devoted their whole lives to it. Their life was that, and it was very separate. Whereas what I'm seeing now is that all of these people who are passing on their messages, they are aware that we live in this world and that you can be on this path and still have a family, run a job, do those things. What's important is that you can go off on retreat and you try and bring that feeling back with you for a while so that it spreads and touches the rest of the world, and you move on, passing that message on, as much as anything else, by people seeing how wonderful you look and how great you feel, and that's very contagious. But you can continue to live your life in a modern way without having to become a hermit in a cave somewhere. And I see that more and more, that people are trying to share their knowledge, share what they have with other people, but not by being didactic or by saying you must live, and very prescriptive about people, how they live their lives. And I think that is a wonderful step forward for all of us.
Wonderful. Yeah. Rozy, let's come to you, because I know you wanted to to finish off, just touch on this idea of balance, because I know the other issue you wanted to talk about was women playing super women, and this kind of our roles of being everything to everyone, and maybe beyond. I think this actually goes back to what Jason was saying about being too much on output and not enough on input. I see this in business too, people just doing with no downtime, and then the tank is empty.
Yeah, but we're not learning to fill our cups first. We're not learning to put our own oxygen mask on first. We've got tied up in this narrative that a good woman always anticipates the needs of others. And as we're learning to explore the balance between the sacred masculine and feminine within each of us, and what, we've had conversations about what it means to be in balance as a woman with a balanced inner male and inner female, but we've really misunderstood what a strong woman looks like, what it means to be empowered. And I just seeing, a lot of my clients are women. I do work a lot with men as well, but this self-sacrificing constantly going on, which is it a Christ, is it a misunderstanding around Christianity? It seems to be in every culture, though, that good women are always doing things for other people, and they're just whacked out. And this goes back to what we were saying about hormones. Our hormones are out of balance. So because our hormones are out of balance, it's also a consequence that we are out of balance, that we are not knowing how to go, actually, you know what? I need some self-care here because I give a lot. So I need to put my needs first here. So hubby, partner, whatever, I need you to step up. And this is part of the paradigm of being the helper. The archetype of the helper is you're not helping anyone. You are weakening everybody by anticipating their needs and being there for them, doing it for them.
Isn't though this part of the kind of the adrenaline drama triangle that you talked about earlier, about this kind of victim, rescuer, persecutor, where a lot of women get into this rescuer role where they feel they've got to go in and they've got to save people and
Yeah.
heal people, and it's kind of coming from this place that things are broken and they've got to fix it.
Yeah, I mean, we feel a tremendous sense of responsibility. We've been talking about the brain of the heart. There's also a brain in our wombs. As women, we just feel, I mean, any indigenous culture knows. I was just listening to something earlier today about the fact that if we truly want, actually, I was listening to the evolutionary from last time about this democracy and what it means. And the elders, the women being the dreamers and dreaming, being able to dream the new reality into being. We need to step in. Those of us who've chosen to be in physical female form in this life need to be able to step into this knowing, this deep knowing we have that has no logical understanding. So going back to what you were saying about consciousness to knowledge, again, it's like, it just is. We feel, we've got to trust our feelings again, but part of it is moving through the conditioning of fear, which goes back to adrenaline, back to hormones. I was saying that we've got addicted to fear. We've got addicted to adrenaline. And part of that is feeling we're not good enough, fearing we're not good enough, fearing no matter what we do, it's not going to be enough. Go back to how we rear our babies, I hate that term, sorry. How we bring up, how we nurture our young. You know, there's a whole generation, 2 generations of women that feel it's a good idea to leave your baby to cry, because then your baby will go to sleep at night and that you're sleep training them. But we actually have so much evidence to say if you leave your baby to cry, you are messing them up emotionally for life, because you're setting their cortisone levels up here, and you're also teaching them that there's no point in stating what you need because no one's going to hear you, no one's going to meet those needs. And I think that is a good place for me to leave this conversation, because it's like, it really says we have to look at this early life input, from whether it's the toxins in the umbilical cord and why are we born toxic, to actually being able to nurture, nourish, look after ourselves, feed ourselves first, and then we're giving from a surplus. That's a different spin on it.
Yeah. And presumably part of that fear culture is this fear of everything, fear of the toxins, fear of electromagnetic radiation, fear of, and that's actually part of it. Interestingly, that kind of fearful way of living, of like, this isn't a safe place anymore.
Yeah. So what do you need to do with that? When you're out of whack, when you've got into your head and you're in fear, fight, flight, freeze, you have to ground, you have to anchor, you have to trust that you can transmute the poison. And that, you know, for me, the poison, the analogy I would give is all of the misinformation we're receiving from the establishment, from the media, the medical system, the whatever, that actually is filling our minds with things to worry about, not the truth. And you think of A Brave New World, you think of Aldous Huxley, we're living this world where test tube babies, the mainstream have sex for pleasure, not for reproduction. You go and you get help with that. And the savages live underneath the bridge and they give birth naturally. And, you know, our future, I think, is being educated about the fact that there are things we can avoid, so let's avoid them. And then the things we can't, we transmute them. And the more you raise your frequency, as Jason said, that the more we raise our vibration, the more we can tolerate. But we may have to detox first, body, mind, heart, before we can actually transcend more. So there is always a balance.
Okay, let's just finish with last thoughts, to add to those last thoughts from Rozy. Anne?
We are here at a very, very auspicious time on this planet. We didn't get here by accident. We actually physically chose to be here right now at this moment. And every single one of us that is here at this moment has something important to contribute. If we can come from a place where we have an open heart and accept that others are here for a reason, we will all find that reason together. Thank you, Anne. Jason, last thoughts?
Yeah, last thought, very simple. Whether you like it or not, so you are alive, you are on the journey, you are on a mission, you have purpose and a meaning to fulfill, whatever that might be. So what I'd like to share with you is the rising golden sun. So just picture it occasionally, every day. So here is your journey, and then it's full of sunshine. Whatever you do, just thinking about the sunshine right in front of you, and then just go for it. That's it.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Claire.
I'd just like to round off and pull together all the strings in a way, because picking up on what Rosie said and what Jason said, the key word here seems to be balance, doesn't it? We're talking about balance in every aspect of our life. So yes, it's good to, of course, it's good to be in service to others and help others, but you have to be in service to yourself first of all. Yes, it's good to go on retreat, but you also have to live in this world. So the key here seems to be coming out of our conversations. It's all about balance. And it's been, been great to be part of the conversation.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for coming on. So thank you, Rosanna Kalliabetsos and Peckham, Jason Chan and Claire Gillman. And have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining us. Bye for now.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Rachel. Bye, everyone.